Good morning, everyone. It's time to go on the record, and Boston keeps the peace after a free speech rally and counter-protest. Mayor Marty Walsh joins us live this morning with what the city did right and what he has learned from the experience. Let's go on the record.
From WCVB Channel 5, the inside word from Washington to Beacon Hill. Today's newsmakers are going on the record.
Good morning to you, everyone. I'm Ed Harding, along with News Center 5's political reporter Janet Wu. Thank you for joining us on OTR this morning. Our guest is Boston's Mayor Marty Walsh. He's sitting to my right. You've had a pretty active 24 hours, so thank you for coming in this morning.
Actually, more than 24 hours.
Yeah, right. I was going to say, yeah, it's been quite a while. Thanks for joining.
So yesterday was a big test for Boston. It was a big test for your police department. It was a big test for you as well. What did you learn from Charlottesville that you applied yesterday, and also what did you learn from yesterday?
Well, I think one of the things that we spoke about earlier in the week was making sure that we kept groups separate. That's one thing in Charlottesville that was unable to happen. I think it was because of where they had the protests. And then it caused a lot of problem, a lot of damage. We were able to put up barricades around the Common. We were able to, when the people marched from Reggie Lewis into the Common, we had large trucks with them, we had police cars with them to make sure no cars could go into the crowd, God forbid. So we learned a lot there on how we do that. We also had meetings all week. We had a meeting earlier in the week with free speech folks to let them know what the rules and regulations would be. We had a meeting with the media to let them know what the rules and regulations would be. We had a meeting with the protest and the rally organizers, let them know what the rules would be. And we had it all laid out. And we had a lot of contingency plans built into the Common. We had a route to get the free speech people out once the speaking was over. They knew that. And we had a cordoned off area so that they could do their demonstration, say what they want, but also have a peaceful day.
There were some complaints that the press was not allowed within that cordon-off area. Do you know for certain that most of the folks in there were espousing sort of white supremacy philosophy?
I'm not sure exactly what was being said in there. I mean, I think that there was a little bit of, there was a really kind of mix of people that went into that free speech area. You know, there was folks from a candidate for Senate against Elizabeth Warren. There's some other folks in there.
Congressional candidate too. In
but I'll tell you, the press knew that. They knew that there was going to be areas that they couldn't go into for their own protection. And the protection also for the free speech folks, that they'd be protected, because there were people throwing bottles and things like that. So we're concerned about somebody getting hurt, and go all week long preparing for that. And the article today in the Globe talked about, you know, we couldn't hear. Well, that's not my issue. That's not where I take over, or Billy Evans or the police department. That is completely up to the free speech people to have amplification that can reach out. They didn't have that. They didn't bring it. They had the ability to bring it. They had the permit that said they could bring it. So that's on them. So I think that, you know, that article, I was a little disappointed by it, quite honestly, because I thought yesterday was about making sure that people were safe.
And yesterday was about a lot of people. I mean, you had maybe 15,000+ that walked from the Reggie Lewis Center, and you probably had 15,000+ in the Common area. You had encouraged people to stay home, but seeing the numbers, 40,000-ish maybe. You know, are you glad they came out?
Well, I guess, you know, I'm glad after the fact that everyone was safe. I think that or most people were safe. There were some minor injuries. My asking them not to come in was why give attention to this group of people that is spewing hate? There's no reason to address that. I think we address it in a different way. But yesterday really was incredible, because I was at the Reggie Lewis in the morning. And the people that came in to Boston and the people from Boston that were there, I felt a lot better there that morning than I did earlier in the day, because
that gave you a calm. Maybe,
you could feel that the message was beautiful, quite honestly, and the signs were great, and there were people there that were supporting Black Lives Matter. There were people there supporting anti-Semitism. There was people there against white supremacy, and everyone was on the same page, and I thought that was great. So yesterday I look at three groups of people. There was about 40,000 completely in the Common there to pass a message along of hope and unity and love, which has been incredible. There was about 200 people within that crowd that were there to start trouble. They were just there to start trouble. They were throwing bottles, throwing urine at police officers.
Were you worried when that started up? It was pretty much after the crowd started to disband at that point.
I talked to the commissioner, and I said he pretty much told me that most of the people that were there to express themselves in a positive manner had left. So I was, as long as somebody didn't get hurt, I was okay with that. And I said to the commissioner, do what you have to do there. 33 arrests were made, 9 of which were from Boston. These people people that got arrested, they were from Brookline, they were from Cambridge, they were from Quincy, they were from everywhere around Massachusetts. There was somebody from Vermont there. They were there just looking to start trouble. That's all they were there. They weren't there to express themselves. Well, and some of the protests, or some of the folks that came from the Reggie Lewis were trying to talk to those counter protesters and say, you know, why are you doing this? This is about expressing yourself in a positive manner today, not in a negative manner. And there's I think Channel 5 got it last night, Willie Gross hugging a woman.
Yeah.
That woman was trying to calm down the crowd, saying, what are you going against the police for? They did nothing wrong here.
There was a lot of emphasis on the part of the police department for community relations and making sure that people understood why the police were out there.
Well, I'll tell you, the police department yesterday, and I think they have to get a lot of kudos. Commissioner Evans, Chief Willie Gross, and the entire command staff had an incredible plan. Most of the officers that were there yesterday were called in for mandatory overtime. So there was a beautiful summer day on a Saturday where they didn't have a chance to spend it with their family. And they were in Boston Common, making sure that everyone was able to come in and express themselves in a positive manner. And I want to commend them for that. And you know, the two groups of people I want to commend I want to commend the people that came into our city yesterday and just sent a very strong message about who we are as a city, who we are as a state. And I think that's an important message in the police department.
We had a strong build up to it too. We had the horror.
Yes, you did.
The horror in Charlottesville.
Yeah. Oh, that was, yes.
And then every day, you were prominent in the news. Everyone was prominent in the news. This is what's going to happen.
It was scary. It was potentially scary. It was potentially scary because of that buildup. And obviously, Charlottesville started out as I don't know what it started out as, maybe a white supremacist neo-Nazi rally. And a group of folks got together who were opposing that, and I commend them, and they will march into that area. In Boston yesterday, you know, we had a lot more time to prepare for it, and I think that that's something that's important. We had the time. It wasn't kind of this group showed up on Boston Common on a Saturday, and all of a sudden now you had 10,000 people coming in.
One person who was watching from afar was President Trump, and he sent out several tweets. One tweet said, "Looks like many anti-police agitators in Boston. Police are looking tough and smart." What's your reaction to that particular tweet?
That wasn't our job yesterday. We weren't meaning to be tough and smart. We were out there to make sure we protected people and made sure people had the opportunity to be able to come and express themselves, and I think that's important. The president had another tweet yesterday too, which I thought was a very good tweet about unity and bringing
commending both you and the police.
No, the other one. There was three tweets.
I see.
It was a third tweet. It was about peace and prosperity, and that was a tweet. I think that tone is the right tone.
And what he also said, by the way, you don't have to blush. He said, "Great job by the law enforcement officers in Boston, Mayor Marty Walsh." So you get a shout out for the president.
I forgot who I was before he went after me.
Your first compliment from the president?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, well, yeah, probably the last one I'll get from the president.
All right, I have in my hand the OTR Prep quiz.
Before you do that, let me just say one quick thing. I also got a call from General Kelly yesterday.
Oh, you did?
Yes, he called and he asked me. He said, you know, very proud of what's going on. He's a Boston native, and he said very proud of how you're handling it. And you know, it was a nice call. You know, I think General Kelly's in that job as chief of staff to do the right thing. And he's trying to, you know.
Were you surprised to get this call?
I was surprised.
Had you ever talked to him before?
Yeah, he was in my office when he was the Secretary of Homeland Security. He came in right before, well, a month before he became the Chief of Staff.
Very interesting. All right, the OTR Prep quiz. Here we go. And because of the day, we've actually reduced it to 3 questions.
Okay.
So
oh God.
We're going to do one, take a break, and then we'll do the other 2.
We're cutting him some slack here.
No,
well,
this is worse. I get him wrong. It's 0 for 3.
America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves. Who said that? George Washington, Richard Nixon, or Abraham Lincoln? Abraham Lincoln said that. We're going to take a break right now and continue on the record with Mayor Marty Walsh in the OTR Pub Quiz.
So here's my...